big update to the Williams there at Silverstone, and the updates continue at Austria with some complementary changes to the car here, and we can see them just here. They've changed the shrouds around the front suspension, so what you can see here is different shrouds on the steering arm, as you can see here, and on the wishbone, and these all affect in quite a big way the airflow back down to those big change side pods. So what you'll have is the air will be coming up from the front wing and it will get turned downwards by these shrouds, and you can see everything here is trying to push the air down towards the side pods of the undercut and the entrance to the floor. So a big complementary change there from Williams. Big changes this weekend have all come on the Red Bull. So what they've done is they made a change to the fins in the floor, which are technically called floor fences in the regulations. And again, these are very powerful bits of kit within that big ground effect underbody. They divert airflow outwards, they shape the airflow going through the main tunnels. And what you can see here is what looks like a little cutout on that innermost fence, which would be the one that really splits the airflow between the main tunnel and all of this outwash stuff here. But in fact, it's not. The original fence looked more like this. So what they've actually done is added an extension forwards here. And the reason you have this cutout is because that's actually moving so far inboard that you can't have bodywork down that low. So they've had to just make a little cutout there and just to change the way the airflow goes through that floor. And again, big changes for Red Bull over the past few races in that area. And then we come to the back of the car. So going back to Silverstone, we had this big change in the air cooling outlet at the back of the car, lifted up much higher so that it clears the beam wing. So the dirty, wasted air that comes out from the radiators isn't affecting the beam wing or the top rear wing. So that's the reason they had that there. But then even with this big cooling outlet, you can see here that they've added an extra cooling outlet just in the centre. Lots of other teams have done this. I think Haas were the first one we saw through testing, but a number of teams have adopted just a little vent here just to get the hot air out of the radiators that tend to sit in the area above the engine and the gearbox. So just a little detail change. They'll play around with this over coming races, just tuning the cooling to manage the drag level that they change over different track types. So changes for Red Bull there. And then we come to something quite subtle on the Alpine. There's a couple of changes to this rear wing, and it shows to highlight the problems that the current rear wing regulations provide the teams and the budget constraints. Previously, you'd just make a flap and a main plane to suit your drag and downforce levels for each circuit, and if you want to adjust it, you can actually adjust them. Now, because the main plane and the flap have to roll into this end plate shape here, it's not so easy now just to make a very simple change. So these wings end up being a lot more customizable. For Austria, Alpine have made two key changes here, as I explained. So the first one is just the profile of the wing goes much higher at the tips, much lower, and this will increase downforce, but it will reduce drag because you're not creating so much downforce at the wingtip. The other change they've made is at the back here, where they've just made a different cutout to the notch under the end plate. And again, this is an area which is really critical in drag production, because as you see on damp days, those vapor trails coming off, they're actually creating drag. That's what they call the wingtip vortex. Playing with the shape here will alter how much drag those vortices produce. So again, a very tunable area of the wing to get one basic wing working in different levels of drag and downforce for different circuits. So changes there. Moving on, we have McLaren. Lots to talk about McLaren and brakes this weekend, but for this aspect, we're just looking at how they've changed the shape of the inlet. And this inlet here is bringing all of the cooling air into the rear brakes. So it will go to the brake disc, the brake calipers, the pistons inside the calipers as well. And it's just part of a normal race by race development, just to tune this area, just to manage cooling and general aero and drag around the back of the car. And then finishing up, another little bit of change for McLaren is the change in the lower profile of the rear wing end plate. So that's the rear tyre there, and the wing is high above us here. Now this isn't an aerodynamic change in terms of playing with either downforce or drag or anything clever with vortices. This was actually a reliability fix, just in order to keep the wing clear of the rear tyre and all these little fins that you can see coming off the back, just to make sure the two don't clash under any strange circumstances, maybe the wing is flexing through a corner and everything, the suspension is moving up. So an unusual change, but it seems to be one that McLaren feel was necessary just to make sure that their car is robust in races. So that's all of the updates for Austria.